so much, everybody, for stopping in and being a part of today. I'm super excited to be able to speak with you all. I definitely recognize a few names in the chat, but for the majority of you that I've not had the opportunity to speak with, my name is Richard Zapp. I am the online coordinator of career development here for EGCC. I've been serving in this role for about a year and a half. Tasked with the opportunity of supporting our some 40,000 online students in all matters of their professional and vocational development. I was invited by Jennifer to speak to you all on some of my experiences, kind of recap a little bit about our department, some of the things that we do, and equip you, because I know that as faculty, you all have opportunities to influence the direction that your students have, to reassure them that they're in the space that will be successful for them, or help them come to the unfortunate realization that the space that they're in may not align with their long-term interests. So of course, our department does that and grows, but being able to equip you some information, some of the resources, some of the tactics that we use, I think will be helpful for you. I'm super excited to also have some time at the end for a Q&A. If anybody has any questions logistically about our department or about situations that you've been in and some suggestions on how to navigate those, more than happy to have those conversations. Because this presentation will probably be half an hour, 40 minutes, I'll probably save questions to the end, but please post some in the chat. If you have any auditory issues, let me know. And yeah, I'm excited to speak with you all. Can I get a thumbs up from somebody in the chat that we can see my screen? Jen, we can see my screen, correct? Oh, there you go. Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Also, before we get started, for those of you that are attending, as we are rolling out the new badging system to keep track of our trainings as well as the successes that our students have, you all will be qualifying for a badge here in the weeks to follow. I'm going to post a link in the chat. Feel free to click on that link, insert your name, title, and email to make sure that you get credit for that badge into your personal file. So with that, I'll get started. So as I said, the goals for today, to introduce the scope of work of EGCC Career Development. What do we do? What do we not do? What falls under our umbrella, and how our team functions. Talking about how students take the first steps to have appointments with us, which is a very interesting time to speak on that, because what that process looks like right now is going to look vastly different moving forward after this semester. I'm really excited to talk about that. Show some of the resources that I commonly use, that my team commonly uses when we're working with students and we're helping them come up with job search strategies or giving them feedback on a resume. I'm explaining to them that when we're providing feedback and suggestions, it's not coming from a place of, I think this looks better than that. It's we are constantly talking to employers. We're constantly doing research to understand the latest trends so that we can provide objective feedback to maximize the likelihood of their job search and their success. And then kind of give you a couple ideas on what some common questions I would imagine faculty come up with, some that I've had conversations with faculty on how to navigate. And then finish up with a Q&A. If anyone has any questions or would appreciate me elaborating, be more than happy to do so. So our career development team consists of 4 individuals. Roxanne Bohack has been with the program for 4 or 5 years now, has taken over the director role here the second half of 2021, is a phenomenal resource. She has such close-knit relationships, targeted a little more in Youngstown than Steubenville, but she does stop by both. Leanna Lula is our Steubenville campus career coordinator. She's been in that role for about 6 years now. And she does a great job. Again, she's close-knit with the Chamber of Commerce down there and a lot of networks. Brianna recently came into Roxanne's previous role, been in the position for about 6 months now. Very excited, very enthusiastic. And as I said, I've been primarily working with our students online. Small crew, but very mighty. So what does career development do? A question that often comes up is a lot of people use the term career services historically, and in large universities and community colleges alike have really tried to move away from that career services tone, as it tends to come off as an assembly line. Please hand me a job, please hand me a resume. And that's not a philosophy that a lot of people buy into right now. From a higher education standpoint, we want to develop students. We want to, while we have access to them right now, we want to not be able to help them get through this current challenge, but equip them with the knowledge, resources, and tools so that 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years from now, when they're revisiting, applying for a new position or applying for a position or changing their education direction, that they already have the baseline knowledge to be able to do that. A lot of things that fall under that umbrella: resumes, cover letters, mock interviews, major exploration. I know this is the job that I want to end up with. What degree or degrees would allow me to get that way? Similarly, I want to get a teaching degree, but if I find out I don't want to teach, what else can I do with that? Helping students answer those questions. We do a lot virtually and physically for our students in terms of job fairs, virtual workshops, in-person workshops. We usually have anywhere from 10 to 20 of those every semester. Almost every week usually have something targeting our online students. Job and internship search strategies. Unfortunately, being a one person with my job title, supporting 49 states, I cannot be the master of somebody looking for a position in Piedmont, North Dakota, but I can equip them with the tools and resources to develop that strategy and help them navigate that. We also do LinkedIn development presentations and helping them with networking, making sure that they understand that there's probably somebody out there that 2, 5, 10 years ago was in a similar place with similar academic interests that went into the role that they believe they should be. And those are probably the experts that can give them the most advice on how to move forward. We do have a couple workshop Wednesdays here. We haven't quite decided on the order of the presentations. We have a lingering topic that we need to figure out the best place for it. But those first Wednesdays of the spring semester, we were going to have workshops in that Zoom link. I'll send this presentation to Jen at the end of this for anybody interested, if they want to share that with anybody or stop by for any of them. So what does career development not do? That list of things that we do, we're pretty holistic, but there's a couple departments that our work kind of brushes up against. When it comes to academic advising, the kinds of conversations that I have with students would look something like, I think I want to change a major. What are the pros and cons to doing that? If I change from this major to that major, do you think I would be more likely or less likely to qualify for a position? When it comes to actually changing their major or scheduling for classes, of course, those are things that don't fall under our umbrella. Those are questions that students commonly ask, mostly just out of ignorance. And then when it comes to transferring and continuing their education, they say, I want to go to a 4-year institution afterwards, or they say, I'm preparing for moving this entire new industry. What I find with our online union students, they may have got a bachelor's degree in the past, they're getting an associate's to get a little more knowledge on the subject, and then they're actually thinking about going into a master's. I have conversations with students like that almost weekly. Where I help students is help them identify what the likelihood of their ideal positions needing that advanced degree or needing that transfer, how much more eligible would it make it, and then helping them understand how to do research to answer questions like, how much more money would I make with a master's degree versus a bachelor's degree? However, the actual process of finding out how many credits transfer, what classes should I take right now, should I not take right now, academic advising, and then transfer and articulation with Melanie DiCarlo would be the departments best suited to answer those types of questions. So right now, the methodology that we use for appointments are email to initiate conversations. Of course, throughout the pandemic, having in-seat meetings with students have been frequent to infrequent. However, all of our staff have the capacity to have appointments from home, rather that be face-to-face, where we use almost exclusively Zoom. But we do also have email exchanges, especially in my role with online student population, that they're working for the union from 8 to 4, and then from 5 to 9, they're trying to get all their classwork done. If they do that 4, 5, 6 days a week, well, I will take some evening and weekend appointments. We often find that it's best to just have email exchanges to answer questions about resumes, cover letters, things like that. That career services email that I have on that slide is kind of a catch-all that we use to delegate for students that aren't sure who the best person or who the expert in a certain subject matter is within our department. All that being said, we really let the student have the driver's seat, regardless if I believe that talking about a major exploration makes more sense on a phone call or an email. Whatever they're most comfortable with, whatever works logistically best for them. I try very, very hard to accommodate to those requests as much as I can. What I'm very excited about is coming here in the next 2-3 months, we're going to be receiving a program called Handshake. Handshake is one of a few different career service management systems that manage student appointments, that manage scheduling online fairs, and serves as the platform for employers to connect to the school to post jobs. Handshake is the Cadillac of these types of platforms. I was doing some market research. Almost every community college with more than 25,000 students have Handshake, and that's going to put us in a very, very competitive position. The biggest attraction to us about this platform compared to some others is traditionally the process is this. I have a business in, let's say it's local, when we say Youngstown, Ohio. I need to connect to the school. The school gives me a link to get onto their employer management system. They manually sign on, they manually post a job for that college, and then they sign on to a different account for a different college to do all those job postings. The way it works for Handshake, because they have the majority of market share within the space, is this employer nationally, they sign on to Handshake. They say, I want to post to every community college that has X, Y, and Z degree. Here's all the jobs that I'm hiring nationwide. And in that one large foul swoop, if we have the programs and they're seeking for associate's degree quality students, we're gonna show up. And because so many of our online students have already had prior education, it's going to make those students find positions easily that are very, very competitive. I'm very, very excited for everything that's coming with that. I anticipate having a first Friday presentation here later in the spring semester to talk about that. But we're hoping to have a soft trial release over the summer and then fully having our students utilize this come fall. So it should be an easier opportunity for them to know about our department, know about what we're doing, and then make the ability to schedule appointments much easier, much more seamless. We should just have more contact with students as a whole. I'm so enthusiastic about it. So in terms of how we approach resumes and presentations as a whole, what I want to do is show a couple of the resources that we're primarily using right now. So this, our career catalog, or EGCC LibGuide, has kind of been my pet project here over my first year in the position. I have a background in amateur video editing, so we really used the library's platform to post videos, documents, summary guides, for how to do a lot of different things. So I won't play the audio here, play the whole thing, but even on this first page, we just kind of have an intro trial on what kind of font sizes should a resume be, what the hiring process looks like, how to do some basic word editing to make the document look professional, all those kind of simple things there. We have example templates. We talk a lot about cover letters. We have a whole full page of job and internships. And then we have a broad page that has a whole bunch of different presentations that we do. from degree outcomes to within certain departments, to the interview process, to our employer spotlight series, where we have interviews in our Service County area with local employers, where they talk about what working for them looks like. We're excited as we get this Handshake off the ground. Should allow us to introduce ourselves to bigger employers that can also present even more high skill, high quality content. Super enthusiastic. For those of you that may be out of touch, or they've been in their positions for a long time, so they're kind of newer to the search when it comes to applying for positions. A couple things when it comes to resumes. Back 15, 20 years ago, the question was, how do you make your resume pop off on the page? When that HR manager has 300 resumes and 300 cover letters in their hand, and they need to pick the 15 that they're going to interview, and they would go by hand, you wanted to use color and interesting fonts and quirky formatting, maybe put a picture or image of yourself on there. We really shifted away from that. Most medium and large scale companies right now, they're using what's called applicant tracking softwares. These softwares, what they do is when those 300 people now apply online for that position, opposed to going through each one hand by hand, these HR managers are using software. They're saying, okay, here's the job description, here's your resume. Let's look for keywords and key terms that are on the job description that are also on the resume. And then they'll give those resumes arbitrary scores. And then the hiring manager says, okay, give me the 60 highest scoring resumes, or give me every resume that scored a 84 out of 100 or higher. Now the pile of 300 is a pile of 60. And then they'll start manually going through those last few dozen documents to determine who's actually going to get an interview. So understanding, students having a basic understanding of how those softwares work is going to increase their likelihood of job applications turning into interviews. So that's a big focus when I'm explaining information to students. Another thing, objective statements have really kind of gone by the wayside. A lot of resumes in the past have had an objective statement at the top saying, seeking employment in paralegal studies to work for this type of law firm. The issue is that law firm knows that your objective is to apply for a position because you submitted a resume. So that tends to be a suboptimal use of space and often kind of comes off as filler. And then a lot of the work that I'm doing with resumes comes from helping students understand that their tangentially related work experience actually prepare them for the position that they're applying for. The woman that's now teaching that worked at McDonald's for 4 years while she was going through college, sure, at first glance, mopping and putting fries in a fryer doesn't necessarily help your ability to teach a third grader, but those customer service skills, supporting those frustrated customers and navigating that successfully are the same soft skills that you're using at a PTA conference, helping a parent understand why the school is approaching an issue the way that it is. So helping students identify how to put those skills, what those skills are with those previous roles, and how to put it on a resume. Cover letters continue to be a very polarizing subject within the career space. I've been on job panels with 4 to 6 hiring managers, and answers range anywhere from I never read any cover letter to a great cover letter is the only reason why I interviewed the person that I hired. Very large spectrum. What we do know is employers don't care about generic cover letters just for the sake of reading it. If they look at your cover letter and it looks like the first, like you applied to 199 places and this just happens to be the 200th place, they're not going to read it, and it may even hurt you because it may come off as lazy or unmotivated. But if they read that cover letter and it comes off as, I'm excited to work with your company with this specific position, this is the reason why I'm excited about your position, those cover letters can go a long way for a student. Understanding that it's going to be this bridge between I need to hire somebody that has the skills that can do the job well, and I want to hire somebody that has the mission, vision, and value that aligns with my company, with my team. Is this the type of person that I want to work with on a project every day? Is this the type of person that I want representing my team in a presentation? And this cover letter kind of serves as a way to elaborate without repeating what's already on the resume. Maybe the resume for the student talks about their IT degree, but the cover letter talks about specifically what software languages they became familiar with through the program, or a project that they specifically worked on that demonstrates they have the skill to do a job well. But at the same time, they're finding ways to incorporate information about the resume or about their background with the background of the company, going onto their website and saying, I reviewed your UPMC's skills and values, and they mention integrity and innovation being two of their core values. I too am really passionate about integrity and innovation. Here's an example of me demonstrating that value in real time. And when you take the time to really tailor that, put a little bit of a personal touch on it, those cover letters can be very impactful, or they may be briefly glanced over. But a strong resume or a strong cover letter, as long as they didn't specifically say skip on a cover letter, it's never going to hurt a student. We have a few different resources when it comes to job and internship strategy, and I'll show off a couple of those. So these Chamber of Commerce pages, I'll show up the one that I was just on previously. So I got onto the Chamber of Commerce page. I'm looking for something like business directory, membership directory. I come up there and I find a list of everybody geographically close that may have interests. And then let's say somebody's interested in something like accounting. So I can go to financial services here. And from there, I see every company geographically close to an area. So what I can have a student do is if they're in Miami, Florida, they can go look up Chamber of Commerce Miami, go to the membership directory, look up their industry that they're interested in, and learn who those key players are in those roles. This BuzzFile website, what I did here is you can come by how they organize majors. So sometimes these majors aren't one-to-one perfect with how we have them listed within EGCC. But let's say they're interested in cybersecurity and they live in Mississippi. Here's every cybersecurity company out of Mississippi organized by revenue, by number of employees. And they could start researching all of these websites to learn more about who the key players are in their roles. If they're in a big state like Maryland, that probably has a large concentration because of the DC area. We could specifically click on this page, and after it takes a second to load, break it down specifically within Columbia. And now within their local city, we can find every student that they have. Again, these are all websites and links that are found on that career catalog, this EGCC LibGuide. But it's very, very useful tools. I have a video here on how to navigate through these different resources as well. One more website that I think is very useful that many of you probably already know about is LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a bunch of cool functions that I could, talk at length about. But one really cool thing that I'll share here is their alumni function. So let's say somebody lives in Flagstaff, Arizona, and they're looking for a job near the University of Arizona. What I can do now is I can go to their page, and I can specifically click on this alumni tab. So let's say they have 230,000 alumni. I'll bring up University of Arizona because that's the largest university geographically close to them. But I can tailor it because it's a college that they're geographically close to, and historically most people stay close to where they graduate. So let's say they're specifically interested in IT. We can see what type of backgrounds they studied, what kind of degrees they got in. So when somebody has a concern, I don't know if my psychology degree is going to make me a viable candidate for this IT role, then we can pull this up and I can say, well, here's 100 students geographically close to you that did that. And then if you wanted, we can add that filter as well. Here's all those profiles. You can start clicking on the profiles, reading their backgrounds, figuring out what degree they started in. This person started with a bachelor's in psych, got their master's in school counseling, and they transitioned into doing tutoring work. Interesting how that showed up in the IT filter. Must be a subsection of one of their job experiences. But you could go through here. Oh, it was a minor. That's why I just saw that it was a minor. But you can go through and those are cool ways if somebody can't find someone geographically close to them to help them navigate. Again, this is a great alternative. Another key conversation that we do a lot of work with is the career exploration. And I would imagine that this is probably the topic that you're getting the most requests from students on. Is this the right degree? If I want to continue my degree, what kind of degree should I get? We have two websites here, ONET Online and myplan.com. I'll show ONET just in the interest of time here. Can we still see this page or is it stuck on the slideshow?
You're good.
Perfect. Thank you. So what's really cool about ONET is this is built out of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the US government actually keeping tabs on industries. So let's say somebody is interested in HCAM. I can go to this page. I can pull up a title that seems interesting to them. Let's say they're interested in becoming a registered nurse, but they don't know what that process is like. A couple of things we see a sample of reported job titles. This is going to be job titles as organized by the way the hiring companies are listing those job postings. So if somebody's looking for jobs and they're looking on job boards and they can't find them, they're probably not speaking the right language. And this page is going to be a great way to do that. Task section kind of tells them about some basic tasks within the position. Some of them probably obvious, some of them probably a little surprising if they're not familiar to the space. A couple other interesting things. There's a lot of information here, but a lot of it talks about the amount of education most people need for these types of positions. For some roles, they have a bar graph here for education that might say something like 40% have a bachelor's or 70% have a bachelor's degree, 15% have a post-secondary certificate, and 15% have an associate's degree. And if a student saw numbers like that, then that would be a good answer of, wow, so if 70% in this space have a bachelor's degree, the logical chain of events would probably be get your associate's degree, get your bachelor's degree, apply for positions. But if that was flipped, and let's say 70% had an associate's degree and 15% had a bachelor's, it probably would make more sense for that student to go complete associate's degree, try working in the space in an entry-level role, and then if they find that they love it and they want to continue in that career path, then get their bachelor's degree. Wage and employment trends, we can pick by state. We can see that in the state of Nevada, we can see salaries range from 66,000 to 121. These numbers are a little bit higher than the majority of the United States. But of course, I'm making sure that students realize that on the spectrum, these are the people that started yesterday, and these are the people that are retiring tomorrow. So helping them wean those expectations. But if they say, you know, if I can't make $20 an hour, it's probably not even worth it for me to go to college because I'm making 18 an hour working for the union. These numbers help articulate that. And then finally, probably my favorite part about these pages for these major exploration conversations. This related to occupations list. This is kind of like when you get on Amazon and you buy a pair of shoes and Amazon goes, hey, people that buy these shoes also get these jackets. People that tend to be interested in nursing, they also tend to be interested in respiratory therapy, acute care nurses, medical assistants, et cetera, et cetera. And what a student could do is they could then click on that link, read about this position, maybe it's one that they never heard about, decide, is this in my interest? Is this not within my interests? And if they spend, a couple hours and they find 5, 10, 15 job titles that are exciting to them, they write those down, they make a list. Now they can come back to me or come back to somebody in the medical space and say, these are the jobs that I enjoy. These are the jobs that I don't enjoy. What degree do you think would be the most effective and appropriate for my goals? So after they do that investigation, I always implore them to do network and get experience in the space, helping them, test drive the car before they buy it. You wouldn't want that same nursing student to get 3 years into her program and then realize she can't draw blood on the first day of clinicals. So if they can talk to people in the space, that'll tell them the roses and the butterflies, but also tell them these are the hard-hitting stories, these are the downsides of being in this space, they can walk away from that feeling confident. And in your spaces, you may have a little more expertise and be able to advise more concretely. If they're in a more tangential space that you're not familiar with, asking questions like who do you know that's in a similar role is going to be huge for them. When it comes down to those conversations, the rest of the department, we always takes it from the perspective of we're giving them a fishing rod, we're teaching them how to fish. At the end of the day, people are going to take this journey and they're going to make mistakes. They're going to be right. They're going to be wrong. And part of, it's kind of the Edison and the light bulb sort of thing. You have to make mistakes and find what you don't like enough times to figure out what you do. That journey of trying to do something, learning more about it. If I sit there and I tell them, this is what you're going to enjoy. One, I'm probably wrong because they know themselves much better than I know them after a 1-hour conversation. But two, when they're emotionally committed, when they're spending time to doing research and doing that on their own, not only are they more committed to the path that, is demonstrated through the process, but they are also so much more prepared for if down the road it doesn't go as anticipated, they now understand the steps that they need to make to get there. So again, making sure that you're providing resource of reflection. All these links that are in these documents are great if you're having a brief email exchange. You want to send them something brief. Of course, for any elongated conversation, for an online student, I'm definitely the person to talk to. Everyone in our department's more than happy to help anyone, but understanding that for some people, they look at this like my major determines what I do after these 2 years, after these 4 years, and what I'm doing then has to determine what I do for the rest of my life. Now, we all know that that's not how the real world works, but they have to come to the realization and understanding that that's not how it works anymore. Some interesting statistics: the average student changes their major 3.4 times. And the average student only knows 4 or 5% of all job titles across all industries. That means that your traditional student is so ignorant into the world of work, and they need to use this opportunity, these networking opportunities with professionals in spaces that they might be interested in to figure out what's going to make sense and what's not going to make sense. And then I'm continuously debunking that myth that unlike our great grandfathers, we don't get a job at 18 at the mill and are there until we pass or retire. We're going to change positions 2, 3, 4 times, sometimes by choice, sometimes not. I have my associate's degree in massage therapy, my bachelor's in psychology, my master's in counseling, and I'm teaching people how to pick majors and resumes some 7 years later. And I suspect that if I had conversations with all of you, your career path was not straight, narrow, and super well defined. And the more that we help students understand that it's a squiggle of a map and not a straight line, and help them normalize it, the more comfortable they're going to be on that journey, and the more likely we're going to be able to retain them and keep them motivated to go through programs. And I really think those are, for those of you that, of course, have a large student body and can't sit down for enormous amounts of time to help your students, I really think that is the single takeaway. If you had 5 minutes and that student comes up to you emotional, I think I need to drop out, I don't know how to handle this right now, reassuring them that the journey, that these hiccups are normal, that's something that everybody goes through, perhaps slightly comparing it to how your career path was, had bends and turns. And if you can help normalize that and help them think of who is in that space that could give them advisement on I can't pass this biology course. Should I drop out because I don't like this biology class? Helping them reassure that if they can get through 3 months of it, that they're barely going to apply that knowledge when they're actually in the field. That might be what they need to stick around and be comfortable. As that, I could go on for a while about all these different subjects. Again, I think it's more valuable to be available here for a brief Q&A, to answer any questions that you have about our department, how we're helping people, or if you in the past or in the present are having difficult conversations with students. If there's some way I can advise you all, I'd love to do so. In the meantime, I'll keep this slide up here, which has the contact information for the different departments, and how to get a hold of us by email or phone. Did anybody have any initial takeaways or questions for me?
Hi, Richard. This is Judy.
Judy, so nice to hear from you. How have you been?
Good. How about yourself?
Oh, things are wonderful. I haven't got to catch up with you for a while. How can I help you out?
Excellent presentation.
Oh, thank you.
I just have a question. The workshops that you had talked about back in about the second or third slide, how are the students notified of those workshops so that they know that they'll be available to attend?
Yeah, so there's two main methods that those are going out right now. Right now, there is the newsletters that Student Life send out. Those are always on there the week prior. We had one email blast go out at the beginning of the semester for everybody with our schedule, but those also go out a couple days beforehand as a reminder for those students as well. Once Handshake is fully implemented, and that's why we haven't cemented in the topics for those presentations yet, is because we were just now learning what the timeline for that implementation is going to be, and we wanted to make sure educating students on that subject, how that platform is going to work. That's going to be very important. So as we're finalizing all that, keep your eye out for appointments. But yeah, email blasts are traditionally how those are going out now. And then
and the emails going to the students?
Correct.
Okay. Just a suggestion, if you notify the instructors, we can always tell our class too. We can just tell them, hey, this is coming up. If anybody's interested, make sure that you go to it.
Gotcha. No, that's great. I appreciate the suggestion. Historically, we've always kind of tailored it to if we knew that a specific department was going to benefit greatly from it, to kind of take that leadway. But we should definitely find a way to, even if it's just once or twice a semester, letting you all know about the workshops and programs that we're having. We usually try to do a variety of daylight and evening workshops over the semester on different topics too, so we're able to accommodate everybody regardless of their time zone. But no, that's a great suggestion. Thanks, Judy.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Have any of you had any interesting or challenging conversations when it came to a student trying to decide how to move forward in their career? I imagine a lot of you are online, so I could see a world where that comes up. I could see a world where maybe it's not too common for you this early in the semester.
Hey, Richard, another thing.
Yeah.
The Libby guide that you have out there. If you just go to that Libby, then you'd be able to see like the actual guide in the whole bit, so that it shows like the resumes and the cover letters and all of that
Yeah.
that they can go to. Okay.
Yep. So so I just posted the link. Oops, I just sent it as a message. Let me try that, sending it once to everybody. Sorry for whoever I accidentally PM'd that to. But so that link's there. If you want to save that, if you ever have a student that says, do you have any suggestions on how to write a resume? My suggestion for the draft would be to maybe include that link, and then to say, if you have any further questions, you can find the email for the department on there and to ask somebody. That's probably how I would draft that pre-written email. Wonderful. So with that, I will give everybody the last few minutes of their hour back. Thanks so much for participating and being a part of this. It sounds like a lot of you found this useful, and that means a ton to me. It's a topic that is very, very near and dear to my heart. It's been such an experience working with students that are, because they're often mid-career, because they're working through the union program, they're always incredibly motivated. And the ones that are reaching out to me, they're striving hard for success. So it's been so rewarding working with those students. And I hope that this presentation does some combination of makes you feel better prepared to help those students and get those students connected to somebody that's excited to support them. So I'll let you all go. Look forward to that email here in the next 24 hours, and reach out to Jennifer if anyone has any questions. Thanks so much, and I wish you all a great rest of the week. Bye-bye now.
Bye,
Thanks,
Richard. Thank you.